The first thing I wanted to start out with was, which we start out with every year, is tell me what was the best piece of business advice that you ever received. And if you need a few minutes to think about that, that's fine. But what is the best piece of business advice that you ever received? You're welcome to say who it was from and tell us how it affected what you do.
Can we do more than one?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. I think one of the first ones that I remember is know your banker. Know them personally. You don't know when you're going to need a loan, a line of credit, or whatever. You don't want to be building relationship when you're needing something. You want to have that relationship, and you want to cultivate that relationship all the time. And that has been a great piece of advice. And then the other was about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was, we were right in the middle of the recession, and someone mentioned to me a kind of a support CEO group. It's called Vistage, and I'm a member of it now. And that has been by far the best business advice that I've gotten, is to have a group of 10 or 12 small business owners that I have constant access to. We meet once a month for all day, but if I've got anything that comes up during the week, during any time during the month, I've got a group of business owners who have done what I've done, start with nothing and build up a small, build up a business that I'm not alone. I don't feel as alone as I had felt before. There's so many times I know as you all as business owners, you just feel alone. Like, what do I do in this situation? And not have anyone to go to. And this is a confidential group that I can share with, and they can give me advice, and it'll be all over the board. Sometimes it's, total gamut of what the advice is. But at least I've gotten a better view of what I'm dealing with, and I've gotten this total picture around it, and I can see it through different lenses and evaluate it better and make a decision.
Yeah, those studies have shown that peer-to-peer roundtables is what we call them in chamber world, that second stage businesses particularly, which most of you guys would fall into that. You guys are probably a little bit ahead of that, but have a much greater chance of success if they're in some sort of a peer-to-peer roundtable group. So.
I'll follow up on what you said relative to the bankers. A fellow by the name of Dr. Larry Steinmetz used to give seminars for small business owners. And one of the things that I took away was the care and feeding of your banker. He said the last thing the banker wants to see is somebody that's coming in. You know when he's coming in for a loan. So you want to go in and take the banker, your monthly financial statements and so on, and share the good news with him, so that he's not sitting back, when you walk in the door. And the other thing, I've got a business partner of 43 years, and both of us earlier in our career took flying lessons. And this was not business advice and such. But a fellow by the name of Dr. Hall Rowland, who was a professor at the University of Tennessee, and he was also a flight instructor locally. He said, when you get in trouble on an airplane, most people crash when they're in the airplane because they get so focused on trying to fix the problem that they forget to fly the airplane. So small, at least my small businesses over the years, we have always run into problems, from time to time. And the comment between my business partner and I is, we've got to remember to fly the airplane.
It's great advice.
So I don't know if we're going to go in order here. There's lots of things. This is kind of hard, but one of them is, for me anyway, it still holds true today, is be clear on what you're trying to do. In strategy in a high term and a big term. In most companies, people who start out, they know what they want to do in their minds, sort of, they have this idea, but it's not necessarily articulated in a way or written down in a way that people can get it, other people. which doesn't really matter when it's just you and 2 or 3 people. As you grow, if you're not clear with everybody else, and they get kind of fuzzy. But usually companies, in my experience, are pretty good at that. Where they get in trouble is scope. It's like, all right, here's what we're going to do, but we're not clear on geography-wise where we're going to do it, technology-wise what we're going to do or not do, customers we're going to sell or not sell, and that scope creep can just kill you with resource constraints. And you go to the banker and he's like, you're out of gas. So I would say be clear on what you want to do and the scope you're going to do in the vital things. And then the second follow-up thing to that is that once a year, this was one of my favorite people of all time to help me in my career, said to me, Lance, you're going too fast. Stop and reflect. Stop. Take a week, go to the beach and reflect. Think about what's happened each month, each week, and kind of dissect it and be honest about it, and then come back maybe with a little better focus.
Yeah, I think as you go around the room, we all have those same principles, except early on when I started, I didn't even know what a banker was. And now hearing these stories, I wish I was a banker. So I had no idea what a banker was. So I think my advice and the principles that were given to me when I first started was, I guess, take care of your employees. It's pretty simple, And it sounds very simple, and I even hate to say it, but I think so many of us, and I do it also, get caught up in the day-to-day functions and the stress of the business, and we forget who really makes it possible. The customers make it possible, but without the employees, we wouldn't be able to produce the first garment in my company. So I really try to focus on taking care of my employees, and I fall short of that a lot, but I try to get back there. And somebody told me a long time ago that was in the industry that anybody can do laundry and dry cleaning, but the product you sell is service. And that's where we focus, and we try really to focus on that and never lose sight of that. And in the downturn, again, everybody talks about the downturn, but in the downturn, I remember in staff meetings on a weekly basis, I would say, we're going to really work on expenses and we're going to cut expenses, except for where it relates to customer service. So that's where we're going to cut. And then, and it was kind of in 2002, and Mr. Haslam inspires a lot of people, but one of the things, he wrote a letter to me, and I have it framed in my office now. And in 2002, he said, Eddie, continue to find a way to make a difference in the community. And those are the principles, I think, that were given to me early on and then later in my business career. And those are the guiding principles. Yeah.
Well, I got a comment on Eddie. I've learned a lot from Eddie watching him. But I think we started doing On Air with you, and then we had a neighborhood cleaner have some issues, and I reached out to Eddie and said, Eddie, can you send somebody by and help? And not only was he taking care of his employees, but he's actually reaching out to somebody that could be thought of as a competitor, really wasn't, but could be thought of that way, and sent all his staff over to see what he could do to help. And at the end of the day, the company didn't make it, but it wasn't from lack of effort on everybody's part, and that's a sign of a good leader. I totally concur on the banking. Our relationship in banking is a tremendous thing that's helped us grow. I think the two things that stand out in my mind was, I never will forget the first time we incorporated into an LLC, is I had a single person law firm doing it. And his last comment to me as we signed the papers, he said, one, Neil, he said, make sure that you have a great accounting firm. The single person you're using will not work. You need a great accounting firm, and if you're going to do QuickBooks, make sure they can mentor and teach you in QuickBooks. And about 2 years later, it was like that thought kept coming up, and that's when we found a great accounting firm that we still use today. But even more so, there's a man in town that owns American Marine, Steve Moore, down in West Knoxville. You probably know Steve. And I watched Steve when he was very small, and I was trying to buy a boat from him, and this man was tipping, 27 hats. He looked like Charlie, the State Farm guy, and my thoughts of him weren't very good the first time I met him. And then as we started a company and started forming a relationship and bought boats from him, I realized what he was going through, the same things that I was going through, and he was a great man. But the best piece of advice he gave me, he said, Neil, you have to own your property. He said, if the economy goes bad and I lose this boat dealership, he said, I've still got a multi-million-dollar piece of property to sell, and that's my retirement account. And in small business, especially in us as catering, some things in this room you can sell to a bigger medical firm or something. But owning the property is ultimately our retirement policy. Then if we get value for our brand and everything, that's cream on the cake. And that's some of the best advice. And to this day, we pretty much own everything that we touch.
Great, great. So let's go back to Eddie. So that piece of advice Mr. Haslam gave you in a letter, obviously has had a huge impact on you. And so winning the Impact Award, give me a sense of what the culture's like, how you build the culture. I know you feel that way personally, and that had a big impact on you, but how do you build that culture of what it takes for Prestige to give back?
Yeah, that's that's always a tough question, because I think it's just a culture of, first of all, valuing employees. They see that they're valued, but I think everyone really has this innate desire to make a difference. And I think it's just, all I do and all I've done from the very beginning is just give people a way to be able to do that. And once they start, and it's not just Honor Air, it's, any project that we do, they just see the value. Because I try to give them the exposure. It's not like, I'm fine taking the back seat, and I want them to be out there getting the recognition, and I want them to experience firsthand what the difference they're making in the lives of people. And whether it's Coach for the Cold, whether it's Project Classroom or Honor Air. And so I think when they see the difference that the small things that we're doing are making in the lives of people, they really buy into that. And I don't have to beg them or pay them to do what they do. And I think it's just the culture of the company. And now, granted, we have some employees that don't participate, but there's a group of employees that are always there and always want to do whatever to make a difference in this community. So that's a tough question. It's not something that I just say, we're going to do this, and but I think once they see it, they just want to do it.
Yeah, what I think what a lot of employers want to know is what drives that. And I think what I hear you saying is example, you have that feeling and that drive yourself and set the example, but then you've also got a core group of people that care about the community and step outside of what they do every day.
And we create an opportunity for them to have that avenue to do that. So I think that's really the key, is create the opportunity, and it may not happen immediately, but once you create that opportunity over and over, you will have employees that really want to make the difference.
That's right. Angie, women-owned business, and there are a lot of women in our community that aspire to own their own business or to rise to a leadership position like you have. So give women in business a piece of advice that's a little different than just general business advice of what are some of the things that you've learned of being a woman leader in our community, and what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, especially in engineering, it's still a very male-dominated field. And I've, on different applications where I've been applying for the woman-owned status, and I'm often asked, okay, has there been, to give an example of where I feel like I have been discriminated against. And there really are very few instances. And they're instances that I've not put anything down on paper with, because they've been things that I'm like, I don't think that's really a bad thing. Example, when I worked in a chemical plant, and I was one of 2 females in the entire plant. There were 600 and some employees. If I walked into the control room and the guys didn't know I was there, and somebody would cuss, and then they'd see I'm there, and whoever it was that said something would get crawled all over by the other men in the room. well, you know what, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's courteous. I don't think that's, a lot of people would see that as discrimination. So I think one of the words of advice is don't look at everything as, oh, I'm being discriminated against. Just do what you do and do it well. Don't look for excuses. We're 19 years old, the company's 19 years old, and it was just about 5 years ago that I started getting my certifications. And the reason for that was I didn't want to be known first as a woman-owned company. I wanted to be known first as the best engineering company around. And I think that should be the goal of any woman-owned business. Be the best at what you do. Don't just go after woman-owned status to get business. Get the business by being the best. And then we've ended up getting all the accreditations because our customers, our clients were saying, why are you not certified? I need those credits for, whatever they were doing, which was great. I didn't mind getting certified for those reasons. But I think the best advice I'd give is be the best at what you do. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. Go out there and be the best at it.
That's great advice. Great advice. Lance, so you guys are getting to be the Clint Black of the Pinnacle Business Awards. You guys have done this thing four different times. I think you won like 20 Grammys or 20 Country Music Awards. Talk a little bit about what it's like to compete nationally out of a community like Knoxville. Are there any unique challenges or are there any unique advantages of working out of a community like Knoxville with you guys being a national brand and well-known? Just talk about that a little bit.
Compete in the market or compete for talent?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Well, starting with the talent part, that can be challenging. My experience, I'm not from here, I'm from Los Angeles, and then lived in Indiana, which is about as far away from LA geographically and weather-wise as you can get. And I had never been to Knoxville, so when I was thinking about coming here, I was, it was neutral, but I knew it was warmer. But once you get here, so I guess what we try to do is get somebody here. If we find talent that's in Boston or in San Francisco or in Austin, typically it's a lot of times it's software talent. It's hard to find here. It's hard to find everywhere, but especially hard, I think, to find in the Southeast. We'll try to get them here. If we can get them here and they see the lakes, they see the mountains, they see the lifestyle. The downtown's a secret. People come downtown, they're like, wow, the downtown is so cool. But it's a challenge at first because people don't like, it's not like that Dallas is on the list, or that Knoxville's on the list. Like that's where I want to go in my career. It's typically not on a list unless there's family here to bring somebody here. So it's a little bit challenging, but we found some ways to work around it, and we really like our talent over the last 3 years that we've been able to bring in. As far as the brand goes, I think it's an advantage. The workforce here is generally wonderful. There are only a couple of gaps that we have to really go out and search for nationally. The talent in the Knoxville area is really strong. UT's great. There's a lot of tradition here of media and marketing and creative. That's awesome. So that I think is an advantage from that perspective. And the only disadvantage is that we don't have a lot of direct flights. So we end up flying through Atlanta or through Chicago to go about everywhere. So what we just let our sales guys don't live here. They live out where they live in Chicago, they live in Denver, they live out where there's an airport that they can go anywhere. Kind of things you learn along the way, but I think it's an advantage in that perspective. Cost of living is low, lifestyle is great. So I think and I'm sure people in this room would agree, use those things to your advantage when you're recruiting people.
People are going to think we scripted you on that airport deal.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
You need any help?
And that was unsolicited comment.
Yeah.
As a guy who flies a lot,
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. I mean, seriously, we know that that's, we keep working hard on that issue. That's a huge issue. Let's go Sam. And I wasn't going to say this, but now that Lance has said it, I had the unique opportunity of going out and touring Sam's business several weeks back, and one of the things you guys talked about was talent. and I was surprised to hear, not that I am at all negative about what kind of talent we have in our community, but I was just surprised to hear you and your partner talk about the availability of talent in the area. So just speak to that. I have another question for you, but speak to that about what you guys have found about the talent we have in the area.
Okay, well, we haven't found that it's an issue for us because we have a lot of engineers, and the engineering talent in this area is generally available. You got Oak Ridge with their facilities, you got the University of Tennessee, and we've been able to attract the top graduating mechanical engineers 2 years in a row. You got Alcoa's main plant. There are just a lot of engineering talent in the area.
So you're why we can't get the talent. I got it. You got the top talent.
You know, people who are in this area like to stay in this area, and people who come to visit us, you know, they get to see what it's like. And Knoxville's an easy sell if you get people in here. It really is. You know, we've lived here for almost 50 years now. And, I can't imagine a better place to go. You know, I've traveled all over the United States and a lot of the world, and that there isn't any. You know, the second place is so far down compared to Knoxville.
So you guys, you provide products and services to literally people all over the world.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at some point you've tried to have been lured out of this area. Well, why Innovation Valley? What is it that keeps you here? Are there other areas that are more attractive than Knoxville? What is it that keeps you here?
Well, there's no area more attractive than Knoxville from my perspective. You know, I've been a serial entrepreneur for 43 years now, and Tennessee is a great state. There's a lot of talent. We've got good attorneys, good accounting firms. All my corporations have been incorporated in Tennessee, and you know, a lot of people say, well, you need to go to Delaware, you know. I had a venture group that bought my companies, and they did that once, and I learned what the downside is, you know. I just, we could go other places. We do have other states and so on that say, you know, bring your stuff here, you know, bring your stuff to Georgia and we'll give you all this free stuff. But you know, the main cost and determination of success or failure in a company is not lower taxes. You know, because that's just a little piece of your overall operating cost. Now, we love Tennessee because of the tax structure in the state. You can't go any place better in the state for that. So I just haven't seen any place else that offers the kind of things that are important to most of your employees, which is lifestyle and a great place to live and raise your family. And from the standpoint of recruiting talent, talent comes to us. I can't remember the last time we really went and recruited. No, we're not as big as your company, but we just have a lot of people coming. And as Eddie says, you know, if you treat your employees right, the word gets out. And we do. We focus on our employees. You know, you have to there's three things you have to focus on. You got to focus on your employees, you have to focus on your customers, and you have to focus on your suppliers. And people like to string out their suppliers. If we got cash in the bank, we pay a bill when it comes in. We don't hold it for 30 days. And then, you know, when times get tough, as they always do sooner or later, those suppliers remember you, you know, and so they'll hang with you, you know, if you need to stretch it out in another 15 or 30 days. And I guess one of the piece of advice came from my father, and back in Branson, Missouri, and he had a company back when you had pencils, you gave away pencils, and he had on the pencil, the customer's always right. And so that's one of the things I drive into our management people, customer's always right. You may not like their attitude sometimes, but they're the customer, they're paying all our bills.
Neil, you're in the catering business, and in the catering business, a lot of people would not understand some of the need for processes and protocols and systems in place. And I've been in your commissary, and I've watched your people work. So talk a little bit about how over the years, as a small business, how important having systems in place and protocols and policies and all that kind of stuff. I know that was something you and I talked about several years back, about how that kind of changed things for you. So.
Well, it changed big time because, you know, you realize real quick that chaos is not a system.
It's not.
No, it's not a system.
I'm gonna borrow that.
That's profound.
It's just not there. And I think some of that stems, you know, our systems and stuff are kind of twofold. One was out of selfishness, that just the sheer frustration of employees. And I think probably our system wake-up call was years ago when we picked up Kevin Kragenbrink as a business coach, and I'm sitting there, you know, literally, you know, like you're talking about, using him as a sounding board, and you're bitching about these employees and their inadequacies and everything, and it's a real culture shock when he looks back at you and says, it's not their fault, it's your fault, there's no systems in place. And you realize real quick, okay, you know, if they don't have a written system, you know, no matter what it is, then how can you expect them to read your mind when you live and breathe owning a company every day? They're just showing up to work, you know. And so along the way, we've had to, this isn't, to me, an ongoing process. Systems never end. There's always a new system to be built. And so you just continually put those systems in place. Then you also realize in these systems, as you experience growth and you double the size of your company, then you get into what I call phase 2 of systems, that you've had these systems, they're no longer efficient for where you're at, and now you have to change and you have to retool the thinking of the people that's been there the whole time, because you've evolved. And maybe that system's inefficient in today's days, so then you have to not only rewrite the system, but rewrite the head trash that people get to go along with it. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a guy from Alcoa Aluminum, and you know, they've really retooled, and their lines were hundreds of yards long to make the product they make, and now they've shrunk it down in this small building. Well, I'm sure there was a lot of head trash from employees went along with that, you know, as you make it more efficient. But you know, systems are a vital part to every business in here. You have to continue learning. Some of the systems we have in place are just for training, and you know, some of our trade industry, we're lucky to be a part of the LCA, or Leading Caterers of America, and I sit on the board of the International Catering Association. And so just being able to take employees and train them and see there's another world out there, and see the systems that other people have, and on a day-to-day basis, mm-hmm. have them linked to being able to watch other people has improved our systems also. And it's ever evolving, it'll never stop. And you know, if I could put a sign up on the back door, you know, I'd like to put a sign up that says perfection expected here, excellence accepted, but I'll probably never put that up. But that should be the goal every day in any of our companies, you know, is to do the best we can. If you can't do the best you can, then you need to get out.
It's awesome. I think a lot of small business owners think that things just happen. You know, you just kind of roll along and react as you can. But
well, they do in the beginning years.
Yeah. But I was very impressed when I was asking you what were some of the things that you thought took you guys to the next level, and you talked about putting systems in place.
The systems have to be there. I mean, you know, I can remember particularly being proud of my group of the whole team is that the first time we fed 40,000 people in 6 days, you know, and that's pretty incredible.
All right, so I'm going to end on this, and you guys can just jump in as you need to. So, you know, being a part of the chamber, I think you guys probably underestimate how proud we really are of you. I mean, when we go out into chamber world or ACCE, American Chamber of Commerce execs, also when we nominate, you now will be nominated for a Blue Ribbon Award with the U.S. Chamber. Eddie was actually a finalist for that award some years back, and that's a big deal. And so we're incredibly proud of you guys and proud of this community. It's part of what we do. But I want to know how you feel about it. So how do you feel about winning this award? What does it do? How does it feel? How will you use it? Just talk a little bit about that. Eddie, you've had some experience, so and you guys have as well, but talk about what this means to you, what it means to your employees.
Yeah, I think that's, as you're asking the question, I was trying to go through my mind because I was afraid you were going to call me first. You know, I think it's to be recognized in the Pinnacle Awards by the chamber and by the peers, I think is huge. I mean, I don't know what year it was, but we received the Mid-Sized Business Excellence Award several years back. It could be 2 years or it could be 10 years in my mind, but I think the Impact Award, again, what it does to our employees, for our employees. I mean, I'm humbled. Sometimes I fault on not taking the time to celebrate successes, and it's what Lance said. It kind of struck a chord with me. You know, it's like sometimes I move so fast I don't even think about what's going on. I just keep going, and I think this is one of the ways that it helps me pause and just, it's kind of recognition of that success and helping my employees see the importance of what we do. So I think it's huge, and I think it really, what the Pinnacle Awards have done for the business community is just astounding. I don't know how, I guess I should know how many years Pinnacle Awards have been going on.
This is our 11th year.
11th year. But the recognition that it brings to the entire business community is great, but bringing the entire business community together is even more vital, because there are times that I would not have the opportunity in any scenario to meet people like Angie and Sam and Lance and you know, so I think that's really, and I sat beside Angie last night at the FBI Citizens Academy, and we did the murder scene reenactment. So we had some techniques this morning.
Coming right over here.
Well, if anything goes down, we'll call you.
I'll get his coffee cup and you can sugar.
So I think that just helping, it's just, I guess, in recognition of helping celebrate that success, and my employees are so very proud of this.
I think that's the thing that, for me, is that we have about 630-ish employees around the world, and they're the people that, I mean, I get to go up and I have no idea what I said. I hope it wasn't embarrassing. I said something and accepted the award on their behalf, but you nailed it. That's the secret, is having the right people in the right spots. And we're fortunate we have more of that than not, and those are the people who earn the award. And so we just try our best to make sure they know that they're the reason. And they'll put it, when you walk in the lobby, it's front and center. But it's nice to stop, and you're exactly right. We don't celebrate enough. It's one of the, I think this is one of the symptoms of being busy and having stuff going on and having some amount of success. And so it forced us to stop and celebrate and make a point of it. And it went out in our company-wide Monday notes and company-wide communications about it. So everybody knew we were up for it. Everybody knew it was Friday night. Everybody knew we won. Of course, with social media, like you guys, immediately our table was like texting everybody. It's like this big celebration. So I think it was awesome from that perspective. And I agree, it's great for me to have a chance to meet people and stop and slow down and hear and learn from people who are successful in the community.
It was on social media before we even got off the stage.
I have to ditto that. It's an opportunity to celebrate our employees. As I drive around town, fortunately I'm in a business where I can see, I can see the things that my employees have done and drive up and down Kings Pike or on campus or wherever. And I'm so proud of them when I drive around town and I see these projects over the last 19 years. And it's more and more, now, in the first few years, you'd have to go looking for them, but now just driving around, I see the things that they have done and the ways, and I said in my acceptance speech that our motto, our tagline, whatever you want to call it, is enhancing community life by design. And I love that because I feel that's what they do every single day. The parks, the greenways, the things that enhance every single life in this community, they've been a part of. And I just love to drive around town and recognize that and see that and to see what they've done and how they truly have enhanced everyone's life, from the road that they're driving to work on or, the safe school route for their kids. It's just fun. And so I drive around daily very proud of them. So it's a sweet time to really celebrate. It's a great opportunity to just celebrate them and what they've done.
Well, no, I think it gives us an opportunity with our employees. We actually even sit down and somebody said, what does a Pinnacle Award mean? And I have a very selfish reason that I won't share, but I said, really and truly, this is recognizing, you as employees for the work you've done. And at work, we have a brag board where if a customer emails in or something that they've done good, they get to see their name. But I said, this is something on a bigger level, And I said, we're proud to be a part of Knoxville, and I just think it's a great honor. And, one of my people is just a real numbers person, and everything's driven by KPIs and stuff. And he was, he's like, well, how much money does it bring us? And I was like, you get a bill at the convention center that we pay for. And you sit there intrinsically and you look at it and say, you can't put a value to winning this type of award. Besides the fact of being humbling. But I said, but it also establishes you as one of the best businesses in Knoxville. I said it establishes that what you do as a company is good. And so we went through a lot of those details with our key people. But we had just about all our key people there, and they walked away, so excited to be a part of it. And like Eddie said, my phone's dinging up on stage before you finish talking. And then I think one of the more humbling things that come out of it, one of my people come up to me afterwards, and they was like, you got as much applause, we got as much applause as that cleaning guy. and I sit there and I never really had ever thought about that. And then as, I reflected, a little bit on Monday and Tuesday, I was like, what, we're really loved in this city, that we did have good applause and, this, that, and the other. And so while I don't know what applause gets you, but that's better than not having any.
That's true.
And stuff and sit there. But since I'm being humble, by the way, I expect a phone call from everybody in the room. You need to throw your people a party.
Yeah, a Pinnacle party. And of course, if you're going to throw a Pinnacle party, you'd want to have a Pinnacle Award.
Yeah. So
Same.
Okay. This just sort of echoes what everybody's saying, but one thing that I got is for the first time in my whole career, I got a bouquet of flowers from my banker.
Wow.
So you do take care of your
I didn't get paid. But we have intentionally kept a very low profile with our company. And it differentiated us really from the whole rest of the field, because almost everybody that's trying to do what we're doing, they put up a website, they do a bunch of press releases, and then they go after government contracts. We're doing the opposite. We've tried to keep the technology, or the publicity down while we develop the technology, and then let the publicity sort of evolve. Still haven't done a press release. But this was an opportunity because we have kept a fairly low profile, at least until last year when we were invited to give a talk at the Howard Baker Center. But because we kept a fairly low profile, this was a chance to honor our employees. So we bought 4 tables for the top people in the company and their wives, and they really appreciated that. And so, what will it mean more for business? Well, it does help, to be able to say that you've been recognized by a community, that encompasses roughly 1 million people, as one of the top companies. And it gives you that little extra bit of credibility when you're like where we are, which is early stage commercialization.
Editorialize a little bit. People don't realize inside of our community or out all the great companies we have. When I say things like home radio systems, Pet Safe, people go, wow, I didn't know that was there. I use that product. One of the things that shocked me about Sam and his partner, they talked about the technology that they developed, that I guess at one point every F1 race car had brakes that were produced through Sam's process. And the brakes on what, 767, 777?
The new Dreamliner.
The new Dreamliner, all right here in Knoxville. So, those are kind of things that, I love my job because I was out there talking to them and they said, well, here's one of the things that we developed, the technology to be able to make these brakes for F1 race cars, which is a really cool thing. So, well, thank you guys so much for being here. We want to say again, congratulations on winning your award. I know the community is grateful for you guys having the kind of businesses you have. I know your employees are unbelievably grateful that you have such a successful company and you continue to grow and grow jobs in our community. So on behalf of the Chamber, thank you guys so much for what you do every day to make Knoxville a great place to do business.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.